I'm back once again. We had a little emergency in the house that I needed to deal with. You probably all heard. So I needed to jump off real quick. Kind of going in and out of channeling and having all that going on was really confusing to me for a moment. I think I have that settled now. So I'm going to try this one more time. My apologies for having to cut off and jump off, but I was really half into the stream and half out. And here we are. So I am going to bring the stream in. If those of you are out there are able to sign back on, I will kind of wait a moment for that to take place. And then as soon as I see some of you are on, we will bring the stream in together. Okay, now that I see some of you are signing on, let's do Sunday Soul Food. Sunday Soul Food's a little late, but we'll do it anyway. We are here. We are going to address some of the things that are floating around, some of the ideas, some of the thoughts, some of the curiosities about why your world has the contrast that it has, and why sometimes things can seem so very confusing to you. This is because you all operate in your own bubbles of reality. And your bubble of reality is your own creation. You create your bubble of reality via your belief system, which is something that you craft over time as a reaction to everything that's going on around you. So you have this belief system, and you are likely not aware throughout most of your lives that your belief system is heavily impacted by the world around you, heavily impacted by the media that you consume, that you are being trained essentially how to be a human being from conception, and especially since the time of your birth. You are absorbing how to be, how to speak, how to act, how to think from those around you. But you are much more than just your ego. You are much more than just your operating systems. You are eternal beings expressing yourselves in infinite realities. And all of this expression and all of these realities flavor your human experience because you bring a bit of that in with you. It's all there, but it's largely overshadowed by your ego. Your ego serves to deliver your unique human experience, to limit your awareness to the earthly environment in this case. And your ego is there driving you through your life experience. And your ego is very often operating in opposition to your soul consciousness. And what this delivers for you is an opportunity to balance that eternal knowledge that you bring in so that you can have a contrasting human experience, so that you can have loss, you can have obstacles, you can have things that are perceived in the matrix as harmful to you, but essentially they are not harmful to you. There is nothing going on in your world that harms your soul. There's nothing going on in your world that can harm you as an eternal strand of consciousness. And as an ego consciousness operating your physical vehicle, which many of you perhaps spent a large portion of your lives believing that's all that was about you, the only harm that comes to your physical being is the harm that you create for yourselves for the opportunity to move through that experience. But you have a matrix that tells you that anything that is unwanted or anything that is uncomfortable or anything that is abrupt and perhaps frightening in the moment is bad and must be avoided at all costs. And very often you can focus on what you do want as opposed to what you do not want and receive a reprieve from all of that. But sometimes you slip into these negative patterns of thought, these negative vibrations, where you are so focused on what could go wrong that you start noticing that more and more things are indeed going wrong. That there are patterns of perhaps abuse, there are patterns of poverty, there are patterns of illness, there are patterns of loneliness. There are patterns of your body not being what the matrix tells you it's supposed to be or what you even want it to be. And you have these patterns that flow throughout your lifetime. By universal design, you are creating these scenarios for yourselves because you're moving through them. Even simply experiencing them is expanding you. The painful experience expands you. The solving of the painful experience certainly expands you. The solving once and for all of the painful experience expands you significantly. This is why those that project into what you would consider negative circumstances are very often misunderstood. In your matrix, you tend to look at these beings in judgment of their scenario and feel pity. The root of pity is the root of your ego not wanting you to experience what they are experiencing. The root of that is that you are observing something that is akin to suffering and feeling sorry for them. But the root of that is, I do not want that for me. And the reason that you don't like to see suffering very often is because that trigger of, I do not want this for me, and this could happen to me, occurs. And in this triggered moment, you lower your vibration. You don't feel as good. You feel fearful. You worry about the future. And certainly there is a vibration of benevolence where you are seeing a being who is in suffering and you do not want them for them either. There is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with any of these emotions. Where we are guiding you with all of this is to understand that any reaction other than joy and appreciation, which is your natural state of being, is a learned response taught by the matrix. And the reason that we are illuminating that so often in our interactions with all of you is because it takes time for that to really sink in for you. It takes time for the realization that your entire belief system is a creation of the matrix, that the things that you judge as wanted and unwanted very often are not even your true preferences. They are preferences that you're told you're supposed to have. But as you go through and detune the fear and detune the judgment that drags your vibration down and drags you into the matrix, you find yourselves exiting that. You find yourselves evolving. You find your thoughts changing on topics. You can look back and review periods of your lives that you have perhaps judged and labeled as painful or traumatic or never again, and see them very differently. And then you start to understand what we mean when we say that you are the creator of your reality and that you can move through any experience in joy. You can move through and meet any obstacle in appreciation of it. And when you make that your new operating system, what you will find is that your less than joyful moments, your triggers, your obstacles become fewer and further between. You are not experiencing as many of them because you're no longer worrying about them. You're no longer fearing them because you understand now that the faster that you allow joy to reign in any portion of your vibrational flow, the faster you solve your problems, the more efficiently you solve your problems, the more efficiently you move through your obstacle experience. The more you find joy in the solving, and the more you go back and work on things from the past and start to reframe them, viewing them through the lens of source, which is available to all of you, it's in all of you. The more you do that and make that your new operating system, the more your world begins to change. And you come to understand what it means to change your past. Because the things that you judged as painful from the past become expansive experiences for you. And you find authentic appreciation for them. And with all of this, we're not guiding you to gloss over anything. We are not guiding you to pretend that something was okay that at your core you still not think or believe was okay. We are guiding you to work on these things, to take rounds or swipes at working on these things systematically over and over and over again, noticing that they evolve, that they go from tragic to traumatic to painful to bothersome to annoyance to neutral to appreciative to joyful to full-blown source level appreciation. As you work on all of these things from your pasts, you will see that evolution start to transpire. And when you start to transpire your past, you then are meeting things differently in your now, and you're certainly able to create differently in your future. Because the things that you used to dread in the past suddenly just aren't part of your reality anymore. Because you're evolving your operating system. You're evolving your human operating system to be more source-like. And understand that your operating system, as all things, are of source. So cleaning up all of the gunk, all of the egoic gunk that clogs up your operating system and allows it not to function as a full-blown source entity, that is your work. If you choose to do it, that is your work. That is the work that we are offering up to all of you. And some of you may have an aversion to the word work, but there are things that all of you enjoy working on. All of you. There are certain things that feel like hobbies, but they're still work. You're still doing something. You're in an action-oriented environment. The buildings do not build themselves, and they're not going to until you create robots to do so. And even the robots are going to require some level of human interaction for the creation of them. So that there is action needed in everything in your environment. And yes, you're getting very, very close to creating technology like the technology that creates you. We say this over and over again because you're getting very close to that. You're getting close to a society where you have artificial intelligence creating everything, meeting most all of your needs. And that artificial intelligence is going to evolve to become not so artificial. We're guiding you not to fear this, to understand that humanity is not playing God in doing this. Humanity is an expression of that which you call God or source. And as an expression of, you are simply coming back around to the very technology that creates you and employing it in a more direct way in your world. That is what's creating this disruption. You have so much intelligence now that you've created that you are catching up to your own creator technology. And in doing so, you are creating this polarity where many are fearing that. And in fearing that, wanting to turn the clock back, wanting to go back to quote unquote simpler times, wanting to go back to when everything was set up. There was a matrix. Everybody abided by the matrix in some bubbles of reality, and things were better. But you have all of this disruption that you're creating with all of your technology. And the disruption is a magnificent time to be on planet Earth, because this is a major turning point for humanity, regardless of what happens next. You are going to see this divide happening, and you're going to begin seeing in the coming years more and more beings discovering teachings such as this and learning to move operationally out of the matrix. But as you see that, you are going to see the matrix do everything in its power to seduce you to come back in. And you hear these words and you can think back to your religious teachings of good and evil and understand that this very vibration that you are experiencing and hearing our message has been shared in the past, but it was labeled differently. It was labeled as some external force that you could assign yourselves to. You could create a belief system that was holy. You could create a belief system that was assigned by whatever religious teachings you were experiencing or exposed to early on. Or you could move the other direction and move right into the more fear-based teachings of something that is evil or demonic or an infidel or something of that nature, where it's something that was opposing the religious message that was offered. The difference here is we are here to tell you that there is no getting it wrong in this process. You can follow our teachings. You can pull yourselves out of the matrix with what we are offering, or you can go right back into it. We are here to tell you that you are so advanced and you are so evolved now that you are ready to understand that the concept of good and evil was all about creating a matrix of behavior all along. And it was prevalent in your world. You have multiple religious belief systems built around this. But there's no punishment in stepping back into the matrix beyond the punishment that you may create for yourselves in it. But it's self-inflicted punishment always. Source is not creating a set of rules for all of you to abide by and then choosing to punish you for not following them. The low vibration operation system creates its own painful experience in physical. The quote unquote hell experience is experienced in real time on earth, and you're all aware of it. You've all dipped into it from time to time, and you've all certainly witnessed it in others. You create it for yourselves. And humanity is becoming sophisticated enough to understand that all of these characters that are created around belief systems are all there to create a sense of harmonious community for humanity. But at your core, you are all freedom-seeking beings because you exist as strands of consciousness of source, certainly, but that sovereignty of claiming your own reality and your own experience and creating it, and understanding that outside the matrix, there are no rules. There's no getting it wrong. It's all expansion. This is why in utilizing David's vocabulary, we are very often a bit challenged communicating to you that source desires expansion, but there's really no desire because it's guaranteed. Expansion is guaranteed in physical creation. Expansion is guaranteed in polarity because polarity is going to create a scenario where any being that is physically manifested is going to have a contrasting experience because any physically manifested being is moving through vibrational flow. Vibrational flow creates and expands reality, creates and expands the universe, and creates and expands the energetic realm, which is source. So when you're coming around to understanding that you are perceiving your world via the lens of your personal belief system, you then can begin to evolve your belief system. And you can evolve your belief system to such a level of sophistication where you understand that there truly is no negative, that the things in your world that you might judge as negative are simply opportunities from which to expand. And that the thing that you all fear most, which tends to be death, or something that creates suffering on the path to death, that is something that you're all going to experience on some level as a physical being. And the creation of fear around an inevitable experience is a tool to lower vibration. And in the lower vibration, you're not as powerful. And in the lower vibration, you are not the creators that you can be when you're no longer fearing any of that. And you're all here listening to us because you understand, you have done the work, you have listened enough, you have pondered enough, you have surmised that what we are offering works for you. And where we are guiding you with all of this is to take these words, internalize them, experiment with them, apply them to your actual lives, and witness what transpires. And those of you that do see that there is a massive difference in creating your own operating system outside of the matrix and allowing well-being to flow to you as it naturally does. And the other side of that, which is being stuck in the matrix, being polarized. The matrix is heating up to the point to where there is so much polarization in it that it is combustible. And this is not the first time this has occurred. You've had many wars and disagreements and things throughout the history of humanity that are examples of this. But you personally do not have to be party to any of that. You personally can set your sights on well-being, on safety, on joy, on abundance, and allow that to be your life experience, regardless of what's going on around you. You possess the capacity to do that. And the good news is in all of this is that It doesn't require anything other than your own mind to shift this operating system. David has created a world where you have community and you have teachings and things of this nature. He is committed to showing up and allowing us to flow no matter what. And in all of that, we are here for you. But understand that we are here offering community. We are here offering ideas, but you also have your own versions of this. And as much as you all love coming and listening and participating, but don't depend on this to raise your vibration. Listen to these words and apply these things in your lives and understand that you hold the part of that already. You always have. Come back and listen as much as you want. Read whatever is offered. Listen to the podcast. Do all of those things. But then take it and start applying it. Because beyond that, it's simple entertainment for you. And there are far more entertaining things in your world than this. This is work. But when you do this work, what you find is that the clarity that you receive can become more satisfying than any external form of entertainment. Understand, to answer the questions that are posed, that to deliberately install a new belief system that has no evidence in your physical reality, understand that all creation begins in imagination. All creation. Every belief system, your entire physical reality, every human created thing that you can think of started out as imagination. We have created structure for you through David. We have created community for you through David. So that those helping hands are there. But you are indeed accurate, correct, when you state that the creation of the belief system, even with all of these tools, which makes it far easier, and the community, which helps quite a bit, it's still your work to create your belief system and install this belief system and make it your new belief system. But you created the one that you have now. So we are offering you tools that allow you to overwrite the original belief system that you created for yourselves. That's what the 4 pillars do for you. They return you again and again and again to a higher vibrational mindset, allowing more source, systematically detuning the things that drown source out. Simply allowing your natural source connection to be more realized on an ongoing, all the time basis, that creates this vibrational journey that goes up and up and up and up. It works for all of you. The things that are going on in the world are a creation of the matrix, and the matrix is the collective consciousness of all humanity. What we refer to as the matrix, however, is the aspect of the collective consciousness of humanity that tends to run on fear and judgment, that tends to run on telling you that this is what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to look like this. You're supposed to be like this. Your health is supposed to be this. Your body is supposed to look like this. Your age is supposed to look like this. Your bank account, your home, your car, everything is supposed to be this ideal. That's the matrix. That's the matrix. The concept that if you don't do X, Y, Z, that this bad thing is going to happen to you. That's the matrix. That life is hard, that your human experience is just a series of difficult tasks that you have to perform, waiting to die. That's the matrix. This concept that some people are simply lucky and blessed while everyone else is cursed. That's the matrix. Understanding that the ones who you view and believe are lucky and blessed are operating in their own vibrational journey. They are creating their own suffering in their own ways. You all do. But those of you that move yourself consciously out of that cycle of suffering, because you're no longer judging it as should not be, you are able to solve it. And there is no flow of wealth. There is no perfect body. There is no perfect location. There is no perfect experience or age or income or any of those things that is going to create that for you if you do not first create that for yourselves. And if you are creating your own reality, we do not guide you to erase what you don't desire. We guide you to appreciate the things that you do not desire without focusing upon them, simple flowing through appreciation of them without moving into that vibration of fear of them, because then you're focused upon it. So when you observe something that is not your preference or not your desire, meeting it in appreciation makes it benign. Because when you view something you don't desire and say to yourself, I don't want that, what are you focusing on? You're focusing on exactly what you don't desire. Whereas you encounter something that you don't desire and find simple appreciation for it, then you can move on through it. Isn't that nice? Move on through it. That being is having their experience. This is an experience that is being had that has nothing to do with me. These are the vibrations that we speak of, as opposed to, I don't want that for other beings. That should not be happening for that being. This should not be happening to me. I don't want this to happen to me. I'm afraid this is going to happen to me. That's a different vibration than simply meeting something in appreciation. Oh, here's a new obstacle that I get to solve. Here is something that I'm going to expand in the solving of. And I know as soon as I raise my vibration, I will have the clarity of source on my side, and the solving of it will be automatic, if not instantaneous. So it is more about systematically teaching yourselves to meet obstacles and appreciation, while also finding appreciation for the things that bubble up from your past. And understand that polarity is going to pull you down into that lower vibrational field, and whatever vibrational baggage you have in your basement is going to reveal itself to you. And you can teach yourselves, even in low vibration, to not fear those things and to not meet those things in opposition. Rather, meet them in joy, gain the clarity of source, refocus on them through the lens of appreciation, and move them out of your basement and have them completely dissipate into the ethers. You all have the power to do that. The concept of changing the past is changing your perception of the past. There are things that you've all experienced in your past that as time has moved forward, you look back at and view differently than you did at the time. Perhaps you view it differently than you did 10 years ago, and even though it happened 20 or 30 years ago. That's because you've evolved as a being. There are things that you thought were quite traumatic as a child or a teenager that you can now go back and look at and realize if that happened to you now, you would not have the same reaction that you did then. So apply this new vibration that you exhibit to that past experience. That wasn't such a big deal. That wasn't so traumatic. Why was I so traumatized by that? Is it because the Matrix tells me I was supposed to be? Because the Matrix wanted to hang a label or a diagnosis around my neck that weighted me down? What if I just choose not to participate in that? What if I choose to not participate in whatever occurred in my past in the way that the Matrix tells me I have to participate in it? What if I can actually find some understanding of it? What if I can actually raise my vibration and appreciation, if nothing else, that I am here having this human experience that I chose to have, and that I had the contrasting experience. And that in the contrasting experience, I suffered. And I've continued to suffer year after year after year as remembering it as a suffering experience. But the experience is in the past. I've moved through it. And I can find appreciation, if nothing else, for the fact that I survived it. Perhaps survival is step one. But don't stop at survival. because there's still victim in survival. So we want you to move through survival on toward that beautiful sunrise ahead of you that is appreciation. You see it off in the distance. You see the sun coming up over the horizon. You realize the darkness that you're in on any topic is something that's temporary. The sun is always going to come up. And you can apply that to your lives. Even when you're going through the storm, the sun awaits. There's just some clouds that are drowning it out momentarily. If you get caught up in the storminess of it and get caught up in the clouds and get caught up in the disaster and the damage and the fear and all of the things that go around the storm, then you're going to prolong the storm. Visualize that storm moving through. Storms are a fantastic example of vibrational flow in your world. They flow in, they become more intense, they become less intense, and then they flow out, and then they're gone. And they might leave some damage behind. But every single time, whether it is natural vegetation springing forth from the damage, notice that very often to make your vegetation healthier, you go in and create a storm. You prune. What do you think that's about? When you go in and prune and cut back and cut away and kill part of the tree so that it can come back even stronger again. That's an example of how your entire universe works. All of it. The storms come through, the pruning happens, the shedding of unnecessary happens, and is returned to the earth environment so that the physical being can become even stronger, better than before, a more perfect version of. Vibrational flow exists to create exactly that. Vibrational flow is all about creating some disharmony to add strength, to bring out the best of. Your entire lives have been that. The entire human experience is that. The storms that come through exist for nothing other than to allow the best of to emerge. Now apply that thinking to everything in your world, including the things in your past, including the things that you continue to judge as should not be. And notice the suffering that you create for yourselves in that vibration of should not be. Whenever you're in the vibration of should not be, or to flip that, whenever you're in the vibration of suffering, you're in a bad mood, you're grumpy, you're irritable, there is always a root of something of should not be. And notice that when your energy is low, it's easier for you to slip into that lower vibrational space when you're exhausted, when you're not feeling well. That's because your vibration is already lowered in that space. And what do you do to raise your vibration? Simple breath is enough. When you start doing this work, when you start working these 4 pillars, you will find that you are 2 to 3 breaths away from raising your vibration. Essentially 1 breath away from starting the process. But you can take 2 to 3 deep breaths and feel the relief of an increasing vibration. So it's always right there. It's always available to you. It's always right around the corner. But when you're in that lower vibrational field, especially if you're in a -10 or a -15 or -20, you feel hopeless. A -20 feels hopeless because you're operating in such a low vibration that you don't have access to anything that is above 0. It doesn't exist for you. If there is no other physical, tangible, real world experience for you as physically manifested beings of vibration, think about that. Think about when you're at the bottom of your spiral. We understand that most of you are not there often, but think about the times where you have been in a -20, which is the bottom of your spiral, despair, and how unavailable the upper vibrations are to you there. They don't exist. They do not exist. And everything that you hear instills more fear. Everything creates anger. Everything could even create rage. And absolutely, there are beings that are choosing to exist in that vibration. They're not allowing themselves to believe, even in that lower vibrational field, that relief is available. You have to remind yourselves that clearing your mind just for a second will start the wheels turning in the right direction. And if you can't do that, find something to appreciate. What is something that always brings you joy? Go seek that out in that state of despair. Get yourselves out of that state of despair so you're not sticking yourselves there. And if you can't even do that, take on a low thought activity. Go do something that's going to break this cycle, not creating something from scratch, because you're not capable of doing that at -20. At -20, you are not capable of new thought. You are doing nothing down there but recycling in that vibration. So understand that a low thought activity, something that you do every day, going for a walk, taking a hot shower, gardening, washing dishes, ironing clothes, folding laundry, doing something that seems mindless to you, but takes enough of your focus to deliver a modicum of relief. Think about that. Doing something to take yourself out of that. You've got to do that. Now, if you do nothing, vibrational flow will pull you out of it. But if you're reeling and spinning and you're on the thought train and you're thinking about how uncomfortable it is and how awful it is, how you're ready to just die and end it all, that's nothing more than that -20 vibration experience. And it's good that you all have a point of reference of what that is, because it is a possible vibration for all physical that all physical will experience. But you don't have to experience much, and you can experience with a different set of tools. Tools that allow you to move to -15, which certainly feels better than -20. And then from -15, you can move yourselves on up to -10. And then through a little bit of breath work, a little bit of appreciation, perhaps you no longer need the low thought activity at this point. You move yourselves to a -5. It feels a lot better than -20. You remember that -5 is where most of humanity is parked, plus or minus, certainly on vibrational flow. But the default vibration, the general vibration for the majority of humanity in the matrix is -5. So now you're seeking neutrality. Neutrality is the quieting of the mind. It's not about a posture. It's not about a chant. You can try any and all of those things. Everything has the power that you give to it. If the Om chant raises your vibration, do it. But make this work internal. By the time you're going from a -5 to a 0, we guide you to make it all internal work. Not necessarily needing a guided meditation at this point, not necessarily needing music or puppy videos or whatever it is that raises your vibration. Understand that there's a point, there's a use for all of those things, and there is benefit to all of those things. But if you really want to fly high, it's all internal work. You might use the tools to get to a certain vibration, but to get to neutrality and to go above, it is all going inward. Only you can take your vibration that high. It is your work to move your vibration up that spiral. And you will all prove to yourselves in the coming weeks that you can go from a -10, and you're all going to visit there, to a 5, to a neutral, to a +5, and you can take yourselves all the way up to a +20. We are not guiding you to park yourselves at +20. You're not here to experience humanity at the very top of your spiral all the time. +20 is a very powerful vibration, so powerful that you have observed beings self-destructing in their +20. They artificially hold themselves up there so long that the plummet is inevitable. We are guiding you to allow your natural vibrational flow, to do some work, to move yourselves up, to relax into it, and then refocus on simply being human. Understanding that the movement of vibration is available to you all the time. But we don't want you to get tripped up into believing that you have to do work all the time to keep your vibe up. In fact, we're guiding you to clear out things so that you can have a lower vibrational flow, have the obstacles that it delivers, continue to have your spin outs and meet them in joy, and fully appreciate the contrasting human experience. You're not going to escape polarity because you came here for it. The Taya practice is not going to deliver a positive 10, positive 20 default vibration. A positive 5 default vibration is a glorious life. Glorious. You're in the 1% of humanity when your default vibration is operating at a positive 5. You are already in a state of constant joy at a positive 5. So if you're there most of the time, only dipping out of it occasionally to go down your spiral and create that obstacle that's going to cause you to go even higher, that's a good place to be. Positive 5 is a fantastic vibration to focus upon. Joyful and experiencing life as a human, meeting your obstacles in joy, moving through your experiences in appreciation, regardless of what they are, regardless of how they might be judged in the matrix, understanding that indeed that is just the matrix. Just the matrix seeking to seduce you back in. And the noisier the matrix gets for you, very often, that's a sign that the more you're moving out of it. The more it calls for you, we are not going to say that it's coming for you because it's not coming for you, but it is calling for you. It is seeking to seduce you right back into it. Understand that that seduction is your own creation, and it is also something that you are completely immune to if you so allow. You never have to be seduced back into the matrix. When you're sitting and watching a video or a piece of social media that is instilling fear and you feel the vibration drop, you have a choice. Are you participating in this? You can continue viewing it and change your vibration from a negative 5 of a little bit of fear to a positive 5 of, I'm going to observe this and choose not to participate in it because I am that powerful of a being. You can do that. You hold complete power to do that, each and every one of you. That is what we are guiding you to be an appreciative observer of the matrix while choosing not to participate. And instead, participating in your own joy, clarity, and abundant life experience outside the matrix, allowing things to happen for you magically, understanding that the belief systems around money and business and health and relationships and all of these things that you get all wound up about, that is all the matrix. You can have, do, and be anything that you desire. But understand that when you make your work being joyful first, when you make your work communing with others who are seeking this level of clarity, when you make your work this, then you are naturally immune to the matrix and you are naturally creating your own joyful experience vibrationally, vibrational flow. But understand that the vibrational experience that you're creating for yourselves expresses itself in physical. So you're going to have the physical version of the vibrational journey as well. And that includes interactions with other beings with whom you resonate with. That includes sex. That includes good food. That includes travel. That includes joy and laughter. That includes serendipitous moments. That includes just enjoying your being without the need for anything to change to make you joyful, but allowing more joyful things to flow in 3D. That's how it works. That's how all creation works. We have shared quite a bit in this interaction. Your questions and your inquisitive vibration collectively has drawn out quite a bit of new information. We guide all of you to listen to this back a couple of times because this was your co-creation. And those of you that are watching in the future, understand that your desires in the future for this level of clarity also contributed to this message. With much love, that is what we have. Well, better late than never. I'm glad that I was able to get back on. Sorry for the disruption earlier, but things happen. We live in the real world here, and my world is very real in this new living situation that I'm in. I'll tell you all about that more on Wednesday on Taya Talk if you tune in for that. I do want to thank all of you for showing back up. I want to thank all of you for your questions and your comments. I appreciate them very much. Remember, I see your live comments here on YouTube, but anything after the fact, I will then see whatever you comment over on Patreon. And we have more new members of Patreon coming in. So I just want to make that our lovely global community for this practice and for the stream's message. And I appreciate all of you being subscribers. Thank you very much. Enjoy your Sunday.